Now we should be live.
Oh, good. I had to run out and buy more Band-Aids today because I cut 2 fingers. And of course, washing my hands all the time, I'm constantly changing Band-Aids.
Right.
Well, they're damp right now. I have to change them, but I'll wait till after.
Okay, I've got all this information. Now, I know what the other piece is that I want. Okay. So I've got every piece I want here now, I think.
Turn the sound off on this. My phone just beeped at me, so I want to turn the sound off.
So the other thing that I'm trying this time is I have, this is something that Carol and told me she and Barbara Thomas were on with a service with Sarit yesterday from Vermont. So I have the transliteration for all the Havdalah blessings in the chat. So when we get to Havdalah later, I don't have to tell you what comes next because you'll be able to see it.
Oh, good.
So that was a new thing to try. So I'm always learning new things. And I have some very different stories for tonight.
Oh, nice. Oh.
It's nice not being so oppressively hot outside, only in the 70s. Much more comfortable.
Yeah.
So it made for a nice Shabbat afternoon. Shabbat Shalom, Raz.
Shabbat Shalom. How are you?
Shabbat Shalom,
How
Roz.
are you?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Rabbi, the power came back on after 1 hour last night, happily.
I understood it came on at 10 something instead. They were saying by 11:45. So
We got lucky.
yeah, we'll have to check
Shabbat
out
Shalom,
the
Ann.
systems in the building to see what happened with the power going so crazy.
Yeah.
Hi, Rachel. Shabbat Shalom. You muted.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. It wouldn't do it with the arrow I had. It kept, then I had to see what it was saying. I knew that I had a Havdalah candle holder. It only took me, what, 9 weeks to find it? It was like,
You found it.
oh, it's in here somewhere. So,
The one that I got from my mom, I don't have any candle that fits it. So it's very nice to have, but it doesn't quite fit any candles that I've been able to find lately. So.
oh, geez. You need the flat ones for this one. That's the only.
Yeah, well, my mom's is a round base, but my round candle, the base is bigger than her
yeah.
holder. So it still didn't work, but we'll try.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Ali and Brendan. Shabbat Shalom.
So Sylvia was so happy to get on that once she got on as the first, she figured she'll be right back.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, great.
I'm back.
Sylvia, is your son still visiting?
No, he left this morning.
Did you have a nice visit?
Very nice. I'm exhausted. I'm still picking up. And I don't usually do laundry, but I did all the towels and the linens this morning. So I'm really pooped.
Well, hopefully you can sit back and relax with us for a little bit. And we are on Facebook Live and 3 tries, but I got us there. So we
Want to go out?
hopefully we'll have better luck with the internet tonight than we did last night. Though it really is great that as a community, if I get cut off like I did last night, you can keep going and make it all good. So, and we did have that problem when I got cut off with Havdalah once, and then I got back on. But you guys were figuring you wouldn't have the story, but you'd make Havdalah. So
Be right back. Now, do you want to go out?
So I think I'm gratified by that It's not that you need me to do all of it, but that you already know how to do it and can do it with or without me, but it's nice to do it together. So I have two stories for tonight, and they're a bit different. So one of them is from a book I found at my mother's house. It is called They All Are Jews. I doubt any of you had this book. It was a textbook for my mother as a teenager in her religious school. It came out in 1937. So many of the names in it, it's like a book of, you are about to meet. That doesn't even sound right. But anyway, maybe the person who wrote it was not starting from English. But it starts with Moses and Bar Kokhba and has quite a number of people, many of whom were still alive at the time of this writing. And then for some, there are drawings or they're really drawings of pictures. And the one I want to share with you, I'm fascinated by, because I was a woman and I didn't know anything about her. And I looked it up. I figured my mother was a teenager when she was a teenager when the book came out. So she probably, I know she went through confirmation at Isaiah Israel Congregation on the south side of Chicago. So that's probably where the book is from, is my thought. So the first story I want to tell you is a story in the book about a woman named Esther Manuel. What I want to tell you about this, it gives the years of her life to be 1784 to 1849. And the title of her one-page biography is Woman of Love and Thunder. I looked and searched online to see if I could find any information about her. The one thing I found was in June of 1954, in the family section of the Jewish Post in Indianapolis, the Hoosier State Chronicles had this listed. They reprinted this piece from the book, They Are All Jews, and that's the only place I've ever seen anything. So my guess is this may be more of midrash or an urban legend than it may be an actually historically factual story, and that I found nothing else about it. But I will let you be the judge as I share the story with you. So again, this was in my mother's textbook in her religious school at a Reformed synagogue the book came out in 1937, and it's about Esther Manuel. So we are told that in a little village in Prussia, there lived this woman, Esther Manuel, and she was a young and a beautiful Jewess. And she fell in love with a Russian soldier, and the two were married. And with time, Esther became the mother of two children, and her life was peaceful and happy. But all too soon, Europe woke to hear the fateful cries that Napoleon has captured the Elbe. So quickly, the armies of Europe massed against the little Corsican, and Esther's husband was called to the colors, and he marched off to fight with the Russian army. So Esther's days of idyllic happiness were over. For weeks, she brooded and she pined for her husband, and then came the day when news was brought to her that her husband had been lost in battle, but she could not believe it. Some still small voice in her heart told her that he was still alive. So obeying this compelling urge, she decided to search for him. So she cut off her beautiful long hair, dressed roughly in men's clothes, and enlisted in the Prussian army, allied with the forces of the English Wellington to crush Napoleon. She fought bravely and with remarkable courage, and although twice wounded, she recovered to win the Iron Cross for valor and became a sergeant major. At the campfires, the soldiers whispered of the deeds of this unknown Ulan with features as delicate as those of a woman, but with the courage of a lion. So for 2 years, we are told that Esther lived the hard life of a Prussian soldier and never once betrayed her sex. Always she searched through the sea of marching faces and the thunder of trampling boots to find her husband. And in 1814, in the battle under the walls of Paris, she found him, only to see him fall fatally wounded. Forgotten was her bravery, her courage, and all the thoughts of her disguise as she knelt beside him, raised his wounded head to her breast, and wept with unconsolable grief. And it was only then that her comrades realized that their brave sergeant major was a woman. She was mustered out of the army and returned to her home with the military honors bestowed only upon the bravest of men. She was now 30 years old, and she remained in her native village with her 2 children. Throughout all Prussia for years afterwards, the great and the humble spoke of this brave woman who had performed such valiant deeds for love. So that's the story of Esther Emanuel, with no historical corroboration from anywhere that I could find. So it fits in our categories of Jewish stories dealing with tragedy. And if you want to see a copy of it, if you Google her name, you will find the article published in June of 1954 in the family section of the Jewish Post in Indianapolis, where they reprinted it from the storybook. Most of the other stories were about real people, and I could look them up and find things about them, even though some were quite obscure. And some were inventors, and some were artists, and some were diplomats, but the whole range. But this was one of the books that I had found. So I'm going to share another story for you from a book called Pirkei Imahot. And this book was put together by the Jewish Reconstructionist Congregation in Evanston, Illinois. So apparently for several of their fundraisers, I don't know how often, but every few years, they collected readings on writings from different people in their congregation. And they had some editors who then published them. So as we have Pirkei Avot, of the fathers, this was a collection of stories that women shared about their mothers and their grandmothers. So that's the background of the book. This one, and my mother had it on her shelf with information in it. This came out in the year 2000. And for Rachel, at the time that this book, okay, she stepped away for a second.
I'm sorry, I had got a cough drop.
Okay, at the time that the book was put together, Rabbi Brandt Rosen was the rabbi of the congregation.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the story I want to share with you, there's some pretty poetry in here. I'll share a piece of poetry first, and then I'll share a story that's a bit lighter, quite a bit lighter. So these are poems by a woman named Angela Allen, and the first one is entitled, My 2 Grandmothers. Rose, boy was she something, mad as a hatter. She left over 300 hats, feathered, furred, flowered, in brilliant colors. She used to tell people, and when her mind started to go, she believed that she was the ambassadress from Romania, or was it Hungary? Her namesake, my daughter, is theatrical. By contrast, there is Jane, who likes shoes and her highballs, bourbon in a tumbler, never wears hats, blue shoes, especially in shades of aqua. She lives in the Midwest, but her mind is in Florida. She was the high school librarian, and I get my love of reading from her. And I have many shoes and many hats. So I thought that was a nice tribute she wrote to her 2 grandmothers. This next story is called Sylvia's Funeral.
Oh, yeah.
And this one, you'll have to listen closely because it will be a little tricky to follow. Don't worry, Sylvia. Wait till you hear what it's really about, okay? And the woman who wrote this is Leslie Williams, and she wrote this, the story is about her mother and her cousin. So this is her story. My mother always knew how to turn any occasion into an event. Case in point, Sylvia's funeral. Sylvia was a goldfish, you see. Mother and her cousin Joy won Sylvia at a carnival, and they promptly forgot about her until the morning they found her floating head down near the top of her bowl. And chased into their neglect, Joy and Mom scooped Sylvia out with a tea strainer, laid her reverently in an empty matchbox, and contemplated their loss. The phone rang and one of Mom's duller boyfriends. Did she want to catch a show that evening? Oh, I couldn't possibly, Mom exclaimed, mouthing her disgust to Joy. You see, Sylvia just died. A hushed tone on the other end of the line. I'm so sorry, I had no idea. Was it sudden? Yes, very sudden, Mom replied solemnly, stifling her giggles. So of course you understand why I couldn't possibly go out. Well, do you need something? If there's something I could bring? Oh, I don't know, Mom sighed. She was overcome with emotion. I'm just not myself today. Perhaps if you like it, you could bring over a little of that scotch you like. And Joy was waving emphatically the empty soda spritzer. Oh, yes. And maybe some soda? Scotch and soda? You got it, baby. I'll be over in less than an hour. And Mom and Joy were still howling with laughter when the phone rang again. And this time it was one of Joy's beaux. Dancing? Tonight? Oh, my dear, you must not have heard. You see, Sylvia passed away today. It just doesn't seem fair. Yes, she was very young. Joy managed to extravagantly wipe away a tear while rolling her eyes. You know, Doris and I are having a small gathering tonight in Sylvia's memory, if you want to come over. Nothing fancy, we just don't feel up to cooking. A long sigh escaped Joy's lips as she struggled to master her grief. Oh, you'll bring us a deli tray? Oh, Tom, how thoughtful. Yes, we'll meet you at 7 o'clock. And so the evening went, and word spread through the grapevine. Condolences were extended. Offers of food and drink met with hearty acceptance. And by 8 o'clock, the apartment on 47th Street was crammed with somber well-wishers, all bearing gifts, all concerned, and all just a little perplexed. You see, their friends knew that Joy and Mom each had one sister, but no one knew both their names. Joy's friends assumed it must have been Mom's sister that died, and Mom's assumed that Joy's sister had died. But did Mom and Joy clear up the confusion? No, they reveled in it, warmly squeezing hands, reluctantly accepting morsels of chicken pressed on by worried boyfriends, sighing plaintively into their scotch glasses over the fleeting nature of life. Naturally, none of their friends would be gauche enough to ask who Sylvia was. But Willis, a relative of one of Mom's savoir beaux, a country cousin just up from the south, couldn't stand the uncertainty any longer. Hey, he whispered to a smooth-looking young lady seated next to him. Who was Sylvia anyway? She glared at him in disdain. You mean you didn't know Sylvia? Heck no, baby, I just got here yesterday. She must have been something the way you all are bawling your eyes out over her. And the young lady sniffed. Well, I never actually met Sylvia, but I hear she was Doris's older sister and a very promising dancer. Oh no, interjected a friend of Mother's who had overheard. That's Bernice. What's Sylvia Joy's younger sister, the teacher? Wasn't Sylvia Joy's younger sister the teacher? Joy's sister? No, that's Edwina. By now, a small knot of people had gathered around the fascinating, illicit conversation, and Cousin Willis was not deterred. Well, if it wasn't Joy's sister, and she wasn't Doris's sister, then who was she? A ghastly silence filled the outburst. Mom and Joy had just re-entered the living room after storing a delicious pâté in the fridge, and they looked on in shock. You mean, Mom could barely choke out the words, you don't know who Sylvia was? 20 chagrined heads shook, and Mom and Joy exchanged mournful glances, and Joy cleared her throat. Would you like to see, Sylvia? 20 mouths gasped, and 20 throats gulped, and slowly Mom and Joy turned and walked towards the bedroom as 20 pairs of eyes followed in fascinated horror. Slowly the cousins returned, bearing in their outstretched hands the matchbox. Stunned, the mourners contemplated Sylvia's remains and then turned to her bereaved next of kin. Mom and Joy had not quite broken character, yet their suppressed hilarity bubbled dangerously near the surface. Mom caught Willis's eye and winked. Suddenly, Willis began to chuckle, to snort, to roar with laughter, despite the miffed looks of the other guests. They said I'd see some mighty strange things up north, he gasped, but never in all my born days did I expect to be funeralizing a fish. Joy's lip began to twitch, and the suave boyfriend grinned and slapped Cousin Willis on the back, and even the smooth young lady had to join in the general laughter. Mom and Joy were promptly forgiven. The scotch flowed, the pâté and the chicken salad were duly consumed, and Sylvia's funeral turned into one of the liveliest parties Joy or Mom could remember. Or my dad. For as Cousin Willis says, I knew at once that life with your mother would always be exciting. Anyone who could con a bunch of high-toned city folk into giving a free party for a goldfish was okay with me. And I'm sure Sylvia would agree. So I figured, well, she's telling the true story of her mother and her aunt, or cousin, anyway, however they're related. But Sylvia's funeral is the title of it, and it's in the book Pirkei Imahot from the Jewish Reconstructionist congregation. So sometimes, we have stories that are heavier and sometimes lighter, but they're both Jewish stories. So I thought you would enjoy both of them for a little change of pace tonight. So we should move on to Havdalah. And so tonight, I put in the chat, let's see, I have to push, I put it here, but okay. I put in the chat the Havdalah blessings and transliterations. So if you're not sure of them, I don't know of any way to put Hebrew in there. So at least you got the transliteration of it. My apologies that you don't have the Hebrew and or the translation, but that will help us all to participate in Havdalah together. Give everybody a chance to light their candles. And I think Rachel's mom called her. So
Yeah,
she may end up doing Havdalah afterwards.
Yeah.
First things first sometimes. Okay, and I am going to mute you at this point. So we'll all sing, but we won't be able to hear each other. And we'll come together for Shavua Tov. This is the way we all get to sing as loud as we want to, but we unfortunately don't get to have our voices blend together. So that's the trade-off for Zoom. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. I have a different spice box tonight. It was actually it was my mom from my mom's house. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim borei minei v'samim. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya 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 la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Amadil ben kodesh lecho, ben or lecho shech, ben yom hashvi'i l'sheshet yamei hamaseh. Baruch atah Adonai Amadil ben kodesh lecho. We take a sip of our wine or juice. We did the end of Shabbat by putting our candles out in our wine or juice. Going to sing Eliyahu Hanavi first, and then we will sing Shavua Tov. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. Bimera v'yameinu yavo eleinu. Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. I'll invite you to unmute and we can sing Shavua Tov to wish everyone a good week. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov, a good week of peace,
Gladness reign, enjoying
enjoying
peace, a good
good
week,
week,
a week of
peace, and
gladness
gladness
reign,
reign,
joy
and joy
increase.
increase.
We wish you a Shavua Tov, and I'm going to wish everyone on Facebook a Shavua Tov, and we are going to stop